Today is a very exciting day for me because today is new bike day, almost. So a couple of weeks ago, I put down a deposit on a Breadwinner G-Road, and we are here in Portland so that I can sit down with Ira and talk through the details, and I am very excited. I can't even tell you how excited I am. I'm also a little bit intimidated because, you know, it's a custom bike and that's no small thing. So even though I am a little intimidated by this process, a little anxious about, knowing enough of the details, I do know the ride quality that I want. I do know how I want it to feel and what I want to do with the bike. And I really trust both Ira and Tony, so I know that they are going to be able to take my rambly thoughts and convert them into actual maths and geometry. And on that note, let's get this party started.
Hey! Thanks for coming in. This is awesome. Or out, I guess.
Out,
I don't know.
in.
I'm super excited about this.
So, this is like the first, it's my first custom bike. So.
Yeah, without being it too spiely, we really wanted to make we wanted to demystify the custom experience and make it approachable. So that's like a big part of, I don't know, there's always a little bit of nervousness, like meeting somebody new and having this consultation about a really expensive bike. But in the end, we want to make it approachable for everybody. And
like for me, this is a big deal. And also, like, I'm not a gearhead.
Yeah.
Gear inches, all the geometry goes in one ear, out the other, doesn't stick for some reason. So like it does feel like it's okay to be that cyclist that comes in not knowing that.
Totally. Yeah, completely. One of the things that I truly, really love about my job is being a big enough of a bike nerd and having done it for long enough that it's cool to translate kind of like how somebody wants to have an experience riding a bike into the technical stuff. That it's kind of cool to like hear how somebody wants to use it and then translate that into the actual thing, It's kind of it's alchemy, I guess, in a way, which is pretty cool. Awesome. Welcome to the Breadwinner Cafe. As we've actually just moved Sugar Wheelworks into our space, and they're literally just on the other side of the window, which is pretty exciting. It definitely it fills up the shop. Yeah, so
you look like you're running a legit operation in there.
Yeah, as opposed to before when it was like, what are we doing? It's nice. It fills up the space, and it is such a great fit as far as like custom wheels and custom bikes coming together. So yeah, we're really, really excited. Get a coffee or pastries if you wanted. That's Krista, one of our baristas, which is awesome. Next door to Breadwinner, we actually share the space with Endurance PDX, and Annalisa Fish, who is right there, is probably Portland's best physical therapist and specializing in bicycle fits. This is where we share the fitting side of what we do at Breadwinner with Annalisa. So she's kind enough to let us utilize her equipment and some quiet fitting space. So let's go on back. Every bike buying experience or every custom experience is different for each customer. Right. So we just try to there's a certain amount of adaptability. Most of our customers are not local, so we have to come up with a good system to like work with people remotely. Measuring your own bike is a good, it's like a good leaping off point for the fit. And even if it's not absolutely perfect, it's not your dream bike, it's still a starting point.
And I've had two fits on two different bikes over the years. They're old and I don't have as much flexibility in my hips as I used to for leaning in.
Like a small note about not feeling as flexible as you used to be, which that will trigger me to like tweak the design and make any changes based on how you want to use it. So, so you are getting a G-Road. What do you want the bike to do? Like, how do you want to use the bike?
I want it to be a complement to my pair of salsas that I have that are like, so I have a Cutthroat and Warbird that are, full carbon, 700, a little bit more, aggressive-y kind of a thing. And like, I want to put a basket on it. So, so that's kind of where I would start, I guess.
I love it.
And then, so it would be something that I can ride around town, but then can also go, ride all the gravel that Missoula is blessed with.
Yeah.
Load it up in any number of, ways to go, overnight. We're talking about, maybe going to Chile over the winter, and so
Oh, wow.
This would be like probably the one that would go along.
That's awesome.
So capacity to carry some stuff, but I'm not into like
Fully
expedition
loaded
style touring
touring
anymore. So
Okay.
probably 2 small front panniers and a basket and maybe a seat bag kind of a style.
Perfect.
Or
We typically build the G-Road with, I don't know, it's probably the one bike in our line that we put all the options on. And we kind of, rather than like, oh, let's get a road bike and add some fender mounts, it's
Yeah.
kind of like, this bike has everything.
Right.
And then we can kind of pick and choose as far as like, oh, I'm never going to use, if you were never going to use a rear rack, we'd take the rear rack eyelets off. I mean, for the amount of versatility you get with it,
Yeah.
it makes sense to have them on there.
Yeah.
And then obviously the fork comes with all the mounts for lowriders or racks or a variety of different configurations. I think just by virtue of the G-Road's design and sort of it's kind of the idea that the concept of why we built it and the style of riding, it would be a little less racy. But that again, we can make it work however you need to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, I don't want this one to be racy. That's what the other one's
Yeah.
kind of for. So I would say I love riding gravel. I have absolutely no problems going up or flat, and I'm can be quite timid going down. So
Okay.
like a front end that's stable,
Are
not
both-
too fast, not too twitchy, not too that sort of thing.
I think by virtue of the G-Road being 650B and like putting a little bit bigger tire on it, and also just the stability and the kind of how the whole bike is designed, I think it will definitely feel a little bit more stable, a little bit more planted. I might tweak the front end geometry just a hair, especially if you're going to be consistently carrying weight in the front. That's where having a lower trail number or like a specific front end geometry, I think that there's kind of a middle ground for where that trail number sits on the spectrum for rideability. And that's definitely, I feel like we're pretty good as far as like how you're going to use the bike and kind of what you want it to be, how you want it to be set up.
So
Something else?
one other random thing, and this is a total Lauraism, I want my front brake to be right on the right hand.
Oh, okay, moto
So
style.
backwards, and confuses everybody, but
How did you end up how
making that switch.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a crazy story. When we were first touring almost a decade ago, like I was whining to Russ constantly, like, why is it that my most powerful brake is in my least dominant hand? And he was like, that's just the way it is. And I was like, fine, okay, whatever. And then he burnt his hand while we were camping, and he switched his brakes because he couldn't use his other hand. And I was like, wait, you can just switch them? Why didn't you
You could just
tell
do
me?
that? That's awesome.
There we go.
I like that. That's good. Yeah, that's something we can definitely do that.
Sweet.
So, and it's easier to switch those on cable actuated brakes
Yeah.
than it is hydraulic, but we've done it both ways
Yeah.
on hydraulic and
Yeah.
mechanical, so that's totally doable.
Awesome.
The last thing is color. What do
Yeah,
you-
and I'm hoping that I can see them in person because the pictures are great, but I
yeah.
want to know what I want.
Let's, this would be a good time to, this is usually, the paint conversation is usually when we go into the shop.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that, Russ?
Yeah, for sure.
These are this is the paint sample.
Yeah.
So these are our 9 stock colors. This is kind of our stock offering.
Yeah.
And then we can deviate from here. If you had a really specific red or a specific color in mind, you can kind of go from there.
Do you have a full red bike somewhere?
I think we actually do have a red bike in here. We do have a red bike that just came back from paint, but it is not, it's not our stock red. It's a little bit, it's almost more of a salmon.
Yeah.
Yeah, the red, like our stock red is definitely a little bit more of like a Ferrari. It's more of like a fire engine Italian red.
Red. Yeah.
But if you had a specific color in mind, we could also, that's definitely something we can do.
I tend to gravitate towards more of like a darker, like almost like a brick red. But
Oh yeah, Oh, like almost like a
but not,
burgundy?
you know, like that's burgundy.
Yeah.
Or more of like a wine color, almost like, you know, the darker parts of the stool.
Oh yeah, yeah. A little bit deeper, a little less.
Fire engine red that's not so like bright.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That burgundy frame is actually painted to match a customer's father's old Peugeot.
Oh,
like
man.
a Peugeot had.
Yeah. It's a beautiful color.
They painted this. This was like one of their stock colors, and then we matched it with like. This is actually not a true white, but like a cream, or what we call like vanilla shake. So very classic. And then this bike is also going to be built up with a lot of silver components. So very like classic 70s road bike style. The other thing about seen as a frame color, when you put all the parts on it, it can sometimes either enhance or like take away from the bright color of just the frame by itself.
Right.
So that's another way in which, when I think about doing it as a holistic, and we've done it enough to be able to be like, oh yeah, I think this color, it looks really intense on a frame by itself, but I think it'll look really good, like built up as a whole bike. Well, we can think about it too. Okay. You know, very few people are like, they come in for the consultation and they're like, this is the color I want.
Yeah.
So it tends to change over time. So yeah, it doesn't have to be, we still have some time between this and when we start the fitting and when we actually like finish the bike and get it out the door. Okay. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I feel like I have a good breakdown for the for how you're going to use the bike, how you're going to build it up, and then you get the fitting info. And I would just say, you know, start with the bike that you're most comfortable on, and any notes about feeling like too stretched out or too, you know, you wish that this bike would be a little bit more like this or like that, all that stuff is really helpful. So, and then as far as when you send me that information, probably like a week and a half later, I'll do a 2-dimensional design draft, and that will be a PDF that I'll send over to you, and then you can look at that. And once I do the initial design draft, it's really easy to make adjustments and make tweaks. So we can kind of start there, and you and Russ can kind of like analyze the data and kind of like look at what you're look at the fit, and then I'm happy to like make any adjustments. The other thing about my design philosophy for bike design is I always want to make it adaptable long term. So I always think in terms of like having a little extra spacer stack and I set up the saddle so it's in the middle part of the rails, so you have that adjustability, because it's a new bike and you're always gonna, I don't know, most people are gonna like fine tune it a little bit over time. So it's nice to have those options and those like ranges, rather than like, oh, the saddle's all the way slammed back, or there's no spacers underneath the head tube or underneath the stem and I need to put the stem handlebars lower. So being able to design it for the long term is really a key part of what we do.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So
I'm super excited about this bike.
I am super excited too.
About it.
Like, yeah, so I really appreciate like you walking through the whole process and all this, and making it as simple and seamless and
demystifying and inclusive
as the least amount of like threatening as possible.
It doesn't do anybody any favors if we make it like this, like the secret club, you know? So we want to get more people on bikes.
Thanks for letting us put you on camera too.
Yeah, no problem.
So I just finished talking to Ira about the details, what I want to do with the bike, all of that good stuff, and you know, I was excited before, I'm really excited now. You know, the process was really easy. It's really nice when you can just sit down and talk, you know, human to human, about what that experience that you want to create with a bike. So the process will take a few more weeks, obviously, and really excited to share this with you guys. If you have any questions, leave those in the comments below, and as always, keep the supple slide down.